Welcome back to another video, guys. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already for weekly videos. And today we're going to talk about the 5 things that I hate about the Evo X.
And the greatest.
I'm giving you these in no particular order. I'm going to start with the first thing that I can think of off the top of my head that I hate about the Evo X. And that is the stigma that it's not a real Evo, all because it doesn't have a 4G63. Now, I'll be honest, I was a little upset when I found out back in the day that they weren't gonna have the 4G in them, but the 4B11 is still a really great platform. I've seen several high horsepower builds out of the 4B11. One thing a lot of people are skeptical about is the fact it has a aluminum block as opposed to the cast iron block that the 4G has. But even with that, I've seen several of these making over 600 horsepower on the stock bottom end. So in my opinion, that there proves that the 4B11 is just as stout when it comes to producing horsepower as the 4G is. Now granted, it does cost a little more money, but it can still put down those numbers. Issue number 2 when it comes to the Evo X or the Evo 10, whatever you want to call it, is the fact that the turbo sits on the rear of the motor up against the firewall, which when it comes to taking it off or upgrading or having to do any work back there, it makes it a complete pain. So keep that in mind if you own an X and you decide that you want to upgrade the turbo, or if you want to purchase one in the near future. The turbo is mounted in the rear, which when it comes to removal, it can definitely be a PETA. I'm sure from an engineering standpoint, there was probably a reason why the turbo was put back there, but I don't care. It sucks. Okay, reason number 3 when it comes to why I hate the Evo 10. It's aside from the Recaro seats, the rest of the interior is pretty subpar. Honestly, I know when you buy an Evo, you don't buy it for the interior, but for the price you pay, they definitely could have stepped up the quality on some of the trim pieces, because it feels like just cheap plastic. It feels like a regular Lancer. Now the Recaro seats are definitely an upgrade. They're definitely nice, I'm not gonna lie, but that's it. That's all there is. Everything else is like a basic Lancer on the inside. Reason number 4 that I dislike the Evo, I don't like to say hate, I'm gonna say dislike, that I dislike the Evo 10. The amount of money required to make decent numbers. So from the factory, it makes what, like at the crank, like 291, I believe it is, but it makes far less than that to the wheels. So increasing the horsepower is an absolute must, but the amount of money required to do so is pretty pricey compared to that of Evos before it. Now granted, the 4G63 has been around for much longer, or had been around for much longer, so it makes sense, but still keep that in mind if you decide that you want to pick up an Evo 10. The cost to make it fast is a bit higher compared to other vehicles in that price range. Now number 5, the 5th thing that I dislike about the Evo 10. Over the entire car, there are only 2 areas that you can find the Evolution badge. Now this does not include the final edition. I believe it has maybe a couple more. On all others, there are only, I believe, just 2 spots where you can find the Evolution badge, and that's on the rear and on the floor mat. That's it. So for me, when you pay a certain amount of money for a car, you should be able to distinguish it between that car, that trim, and anyone before it. And if you're not a true car person, if you don't know what you're looking at, it'll be a bit harder to tell that this is different from just the basic trim model of that vehicle. So someone like me, I see Brembos, I see the front and rear fenders are wider, I see the bigger grille, I see the intercooler in the front, I see the hood vents, but to those that aren't very familiar with the car or the platform, it can make it a little harder to determine whether it's an Evo or not. Now back when my car was all stock, I had come up on a guy who was driving an STI, and he saw my car, and I told him, it was an Evo. So he had to take a good look at it to determine whether or not it was actually an Evo. So once again, that's the 5th reason, the fact that you can't really tell it's an Evo if you're not like a true car person, without actually looking at it. So keep those things in mind if you're in the market to pick up an Evo 10 of your own, or if you already have one and you want to start modifying it. If this video was helpful, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up, subscribe for weekly videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one.